What's up guys, in this video we're going to be looking at Workhorse stock. We have the CFO talking about in detail about the company, what is going to be the potential of the USPS contract. He talked about in detail what the contract is all about and how the company weighs in with the other competitors that actually filed for the USPS contract. He also talked about if there's going to be no deal for USPS, what is going to be the future for the company, are they going to be able to survive? So he talked all this information in this video guys, so make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video to look at exactly in detail what to expect for this company pretty soon guys. So hope you enjoy this video guys. Now let's get right into the video.
We are joined now by the CFO of Workhorse, Steve Schrader. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Probably. Steve, for our listeners who aren't aware, explain the opportunity in last mile delivery, because that's essentially the same box that you play in.
Yeah. So last mile delivery, think of kind of UPS, DHL, FedEx, kind of the big trucks, the 1,000 cubic feet trucks. But also think of kind of also like what Amazon uses, like the Mercedes Sprinter, the Ram ProMaster, the Ford Transit that you see in the neighborhoods too. So that combined market replaces vehicles to the tune of like 300,000 a year, and it's an $18 billion market. So although sometimes that market isn't sexy enough for the big players, it's certainly sexy enough for us and a big market for us to get a share of our market share.
So Steve, we solicited questions from our listeners and from our chats, and pretty much the only thing on everyone's mind is the outcome of this U.S. Postal Service contract that we're waiting for. Do you have any insight as to when you may hear about that?
So I can't say too much about that, unfortunately, for your listeners. What I can say, though, is what's public. So the post office in the March time period of spring of 2019 had 6 companies go through prototype and durability testing. We were one of those companies. We were the only all-electric option. And we were also one of the 3 American companies that went through the prototype testing. And they issued a RFP in December, late December, and the submissions were due July 14th, so last Tuesday. That's about all I can say. What I will say is our all-electric, though, is probably the perfect vehicle for them. So when you think about what the post office does, 70% of their trucks go about 17, 18 miles a day and make 700 stops, mailbox, mailbox, mailbox. So ours runs almost like a golf cart. So that's really more what you need. Right now, they get 5 to 6 miles per gallon. Ours get over 40 miles per gallon equivalent. And we have half the maintenance costs, which is really what's killing the post office right now, because we have no transmission and about a third of the components. So we'll see what the post office does.
This contract, I think, could represent as much as $6 billion in value. Fair to say that it's the biggest catalyst for the business right now?
Well, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for us. So obviously, if we were to get the full award or a decent size award, that would be transforming for the company. But from the standpoint of our current business, we like that as well. So we currently have our C series, which is C1000, C650, and C450, and those are all cubic feet sizes. So those are what competes. So the C1000 would compete with the big trucks you see right now of UPS, FedEx, and the C40 and 450 and 650 would compete with the Mercedes Sprinter and the ones I talked about earlier. So we think those all compete. We think right now we're the only electric vehicle option in that delivery market. We are actually making trucks right now at our Union City, Indiana plant. And we plan to make 300 to 400 this year. Most of those will be at the very end of the year in the last quarter. And we also have a back order of 1,100 vehicles. So we already got sales out there and orders from UPS and DHL. In addition to that, we own 10% of Lordstown Motor Corporation, which I think you're probably at least familiar with their Endurance unveiling that Vice President Pence was at as well. So, and we have a drone that is patented and comes right off the top of the truck. So I think we have a lot actually going for us, even if we didn't get the post office.
Steve, Dennis Dick here. Let's talk about the drone delivery. Where do you see this industry going? Because we hear about this, that drones are eventually going to be bringing us their stuff, but we don't see any of them really happening yet. Do you see the whole industry, the delivery industry, moving into drones as a more efficient way, or is this just going to be, something that may not come to fruition?
I would probably say that was, Dennis, the same opinion we probably had even last year. I think we thought the drone was a way to sell more trucks. And what happened was the virus.
Right.
So the interest in our drone that comes right off the truck and doing touchless delivery has just taken off exponentially. And so from our standpoint, we actually went down to Virginia and in front of administration and governmental officials in April. We, along with another company called Drone Up, ran about 50 missions. And what they wanted to see, how does that interact from a standpoint of and can be used for medical and emergency supplies. And for example, Drone Up had 3 people on the ground running theirs. Ours autonomously through software came right off the top of the truck, dropped the package and came back to the truck. So I think the interest even cranked up from there as well too. So now if you want to do something commercially from a standpoint long-term with drones, or be a drone OEM, which I think is a possibility now and actually a legitimate business case that could rival a truck, you would need to get certifications from the FAA. And you need to get a type certification and a production certification. And those certifications take about 12 to 18 months. So I think even the FAA understands that, they want safety first for sure. But from that standpoint, I think it's a real opportunity. I think it's more like 2 years away versus 5 years away.
The drone business is that in California or because I know you've got different you're based in Cincinnati, but you're I'm trying to phrase my question correctly here, but I guess is there any advantage to the drone delivery business being in California?
I'm not aware of any advantage right now that there's any unique laws in California or not, but we are based in Loveland, Ohio, and we've already run missions. We've done for about 4 or 5 years. We've run different missions here in Loveland and with different parties. So again, on a short-term basis, you're allowed to do that and get exceptions from the FAA. It's more if you want to really make this a commercial long-term business.
You mentioned Lordstown Motors. You've got a 10% stake. Any plans that you can say to do anything with that, maybe buy more, or just talk about like the stake in Lordstown Motors and kind of what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, they're a private company, but they've been pretty public with what they're doing from a standpoint of their product. So they've made the endurance pickup truck. I think they're trying to appeal more to fleets rather than maybe the commercial market necessarily. I thought they said that by sometime next year, they're going to have them ready to go. Yeah, we have a 10% stake. It's non-dilutive. They also have the GM Lordstown plant, which is a 6 million square foot plant. So we talked about our own Union City facility from a standpoint of ours is 250,000 square feet, and it could handle if we got a post office award and what we're trying to do. But you also have as an owner in like Lordstown, an option possibly, and maybe to subcontract if it's if it increase your margins and maybe not spend capital at Lordstown or at Union City, to maybe use Lordstown as a subcontractor since it's such a big facility and already kind of ready to go.
Just as far as just the last mile delivery competitive landscape, 2 of your biggest customers, as you mentioned, UPS and DHL. Of course, you're trying to work with the U.S. Postal Service, but I guess like talk about that landscape and sort of just who you're going, who are your main competitors, who do you see as a big threat right now?
Right now, we don't have a competitor. I think it's just us that is out there of all the certifications from a standpoint of we can sell in all 50 states, and from a standpoint of we are actually producing and making them and we'll be delivering this year. I think at different competitors, for example, that could be competitors like Rivian has thrown out that they're going to make a delivery van. But I think first they're making trucks, and I think they're 2 or 3 years away from making a delivery van. So we kind of like our opportunity here that we got a 2 to 3 year head start on everybody. And we kind of understand and work with all these customers, understand the duty cycle. The potential customers, you talked about DHL and UPS, which you already have sales orders for, but there's also, there's FedEx, we're working with Ryder right now because Ryder already has a lot of these customers that maybe not as big as the the UPS or the FedEx, and maybe don't need a C1000, but want smaller vans and trucks that we make. And they can accumulate 25 or 50 or 75 orders, and they can also do the maintenance for their customers. So we think that's a great relationship. And we're talking to everybody you would think of from a standpoint. I think their biggest question is it's not so much actually sales and getting orders. It is actually, I think they're just waiting to kind of say, how soon can we get them?
We're on the line with Steve Schrader, the Chief Financial Officer for Workhorse. Steve, let me zoom out here, and obviously the craze with electric vehicles. Give us your perspective on the car industry 5 years from now. You have Tesla, NIO, Ford, GM, Fiat, Chrysler, Ferrari, the European companies. Do you see some sort of overall consolidation as more ride sharing and less cars are needed, or do you see any bankruptcies in the sector?
I don't know about bankruptcies. And what I will tell you is it seems like when you talk about the cars too, is because that's not our market. But it seems like there's always consolidation when there's an interest like this. So I can see that being a possibility. I think because there's so much competition there as well, everybody wants to either do the pickup truck or the automobile, right? And the EVs are hot. I think because those are the sexy areas, there's competition. I guess we like where we're at from a standpoint. Is not a lot of competition in the last mile delivery, but they also want EVs too. A lot of the fleets have a goal to kind of have 30 or 40% of their new orders be EVs going forward. And that actually, even though it's like I said, it's not the hot area and hot market, that is the fastest growing market. It grows about 15% a year and replaces 300,000 vehicles. So we're kind of just happy to be in that market.
Steve, Workhorse has been public now for a decade, actually. So how do you explain the enthusiasm in the stock that wasn't there 2 months ago?
I think it was when I was hired.
I like this guy.
Good answer.
I think honestly is what has happened is we certainly got caught up in the EV interest. And from my standpoint, I think from relative comparison, I think is where it really kind of came out. So here's, from a standpoint of, let's look at Nikola, so Nikola's taken off and it's a multi-billion-dollar company, and still is probably 2 years away from making anything, right? And I think what investors have done, and again, you guys are the experts more on valuation than I am, but I think what the investors have done is at least looked at little Workhorse here and said, look, not only are they making vehicles right now, they already have orders. In addition to that, they have a drone and they have an opportunity with the post office. And I think relative comparison and just to being $1.5 billion company, I think we look pretty well.
Steve, one more question. What happens if, say, hypothetically, you don't get the post office contract? You've talked about some of your other businesses. Where obviously is your focus going to go to then?
I think it's on the C series and the drone. I think, again, the post office to me, I always refer to as the cake on the icing because it's so big.
Yeah.
But from a standpoint of the actual business, what I'll call is non-post office business, we think is great. We think we like our place in it. We like how big that market is, and just getting a bit, even a portion of that market share of an $18 billion market is quite a bit of opportunity for us. In addition to the drone, like I said, could be its own business case by itself. So I think we like where we're at and we like our position. Even if we didn't get the post office, we'd certainly welcome the post office opportunity as well.
I just want to repeat what you said earlier. You're still on track. You said to deliver 300 to 400 vans this year. Have you announced your upcoming earnings date, or can we get some? Is that public information yet?
We haven't yet. We probably will do that in next week or so.
Okay. This is for the June quarter, right? Yeah. Okay.
The June quarter, really be in early August sometime.
Early August. Okay. And what was I had one more question for you, and now I just kind of lost my mind here. But I think maybe Dennis kind of asked my question, which is just what you would do hypothetically in light of using the USPS contract. But I guess to wrap it up here, Steve, best case, worst case, where's the company in 2 years?
Oh, in 2 years, best case, I guess we get the post office contract. We also have a lot more orders, and we're producing to the tune of maybe 2,000 to 3,000 vehicles a year on the C series. And best case from a standpoint of the drone is actually maybe we've got certification, FAA certification, and it's a legitimate maybe drone OEM business. Worst case, I guess, is we don't do any of those things, right? I mean, the worst case, but I don't see that happening. I just see we got a great management team here, and I think we've just positioned ourselves really well, and we're looking forward to kind of going forward.
Steve Schrader is the Chief Financial Officer of Workhorse. Steve, we thank you for the time today, and stay safe out there.